this is the truth. This is the hard-hitting truth for really all of these legacy media companies, right? How much are they going to lose out if Netflix actually does go, end up winning this whole bidding war for Warner Brothers? And that's really what we see today from Paramount. The whole letter to shareholders, as well as the legal the lawsuit that they just filed, basically threatening a proxy fight. So things are kind of getting very, very interesting, somewhat, I would say, even somewhat ugly.
Geetha, I'm just reading this report. It says that the lawsuit is aiming to force out into the open more details about Netflix's takeover agreement. What exactly is this lawsuit alleging? What is it supposed to do here? And is it just posturing, perhaps?
I think it's all of the above, Alex. So really what we're, so we have one number which is there for the streaming and the studio assets. So remember, the whole Warner Brothers transaction is about two different units, really. So one is the streaming and the studio assets. And for that, we already have a deal from Netflix for about $28 a share. Now, what is a share? What is really, so to speak, in the air, so to speak, is the remaining part of the business, which is the TV network business, the what is called the global networks or Discovery Global. And here is where, there is a lot of questions about where exactly that should be valued. So Paramount pretty much has come out and said that it should be valued at $0 a share. And they base their argument on the recent trading debut of Versant, which is the cable network spinoff from Comcast, which has fared really, really poorly in its first week. The stock off almost 30%, and so that Paramount kind of using that as their defense for valuing these Warner Brothers networks at next to nothing. Warner Brothers, on the other hand, obviously internally has a number for those networks. They according to reports, think it's worth about $3 to $4 a share. So that's really where a lot of this discrepancy is kind of stemming from. And what Paramount is asking in this lawsuit is to really clarify all of these aspects. Like, what is the stub value? What are all the different financial details in the Netflix deal? And what is the risk-adjusted uncertainty that, Warner Brothers is ascribing to the $30 offer from Paramount? So they say they're really asking WBD to kind of spell it all out and come out in the open.
So, are they doing this on the cheap? Why not just pony up more money, Paramount?
Yeah, so, right now their, offer is obviously $30 a share, which Warner Brothers has called inadequate and inferior to the Netflix deal. Of course, Paramount keeps arguing that their offer is all cash versus Netflix, which is, partly cash and partly stock. And, the stock is obviously has been really it's been going down in value. So again, that part of it is a little bit of a question mark. But really, this is, I think ultimately what's going to happen is they are going to have to sweeten the deal. There is no doubt about that, because we haven't seen a whole lot of action in terms of the Warner Brothers shareholders actually tendering their shares. And that's really what it's going to come down to. So only about 2% of the shares have been tendered, which means that the shareholders are really waiting for a higher bid. So Paramount, I think, has to, raise the offer ultimately.
Geetha, it kind of feels like this bidding war has no end in sight. We get some new escalation every day. From a regulatory perspective, perhaps, is there any limitation for how much longer this can go on? And what does it do for the terms of the deal for, if it keeps dragging on much longer?
Yeah, it's definitely not good for anybody, right? It just kind of keeps adding to the uncertainty here. But in terms of the dates and what we know so far, January 21st so far is the deadline that Paramount has set for the Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders to tender their shares. Now, they can very well come back and extend that deadline, or they may not. They may choose to walk away from the deal, or they may choose to raise the offer. So again, a lot up in the air at this point. We're kind of playing a waiting game here, Alex.
What would a proxy fight? What would that look like?
That is going to be really ugly, and I don't think, obviously that kind of changes a lot of things. I think the Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders, however, do believe that the board, the management, is doing the right thing. I think they do believe that the Netflix offer is actually superior, and I think that they do believe that the TV networks are actually worth something much more than what Paramount is suggesting. So again, I don't necessarily know that a proxy fight would be productive for Paramount.